Okay, today is Friday. It is the right before the New York session, um, and and for me, uh, saying it seems to clear my to create saying it out loud and recording it seems to alter the way that I think as the brain. I keep going back to the brain. Is that it has the ability to manipulate the reality and twist it around in a certain way, in a non-factual way. Okay, whether it is due to whether it's due to uh, my physical condition that distorts what reality is. Okay, I hope that makes sense. But it seems like when I say it, it's like I know that when I trade, that uh, in the past, and probably will uh, do things that are self-deprecating, right? Self-undermining. Even though my intent, the logical thing to do is to uh, make the right trades. Okay, it's for me to make the right trades, but sometimes I'll do things and I'll keep doing it for some odd reason. Okay, that has been a problem for me for the past 5 years. Okay, so when I was working as a dishwasher, I was working 6 hours a night, physically demanding. Okay, and then I was attempting to perform this very complicated thing uh, continuously with lack of sleep, and I would continue this like continue this whether it was the weekend or the weekday. Weekends, just trying to study as much as possible, right? And so what that did was it caused me to be the mind wasn't the mind was not thinking properly. Okay, so what I notice is that it's amazing to me. Unless I say it, it seems like I don't fully appreciate what's. This is me. Okay, when I say it, it sounds ridiculous, but it's that's the way it is. Okay, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. It's a Friday, and a New York session is going to be about 6.5 hours when it opens up in a couple hours. Then I was told. Then I finally now Warren Buffett is very old now. He's retired from his company that he created, and he said, and he's talking about now. Now he's talking about something called a baseball analogy. Okay, he's talking about a baseball analogy where uh, in baseball there's a strike zone. There's an area that is a strike zone. Okay, within the strike zone, some pitches are difficult to hit, even though it's in the strike zone. Okay, even though it's in the strike zone, because it could be hitting here, the ball could be in this corner, the ball can be this corner, the ball can be this corner, or it here. And when the ball is delivered, it looks like it's going to be here, okay? But it's going to drop off because the speed, because the speed, it'll go, it'll look like it's going to be here, but it drops off, okay? Or it looks like it's going to be here, but it goes up a little bit, okay? It's based on the speed, right? And the delivery. And uh, and when I look at so he says that an individual person who is a investor does not have to take all the pitches. Okay, he does not have to take all the pitches, meaning when a pitch is thrown, he doesn't have to strike it with his bat. He doesn't. Okay, so all he has to do is wait for that great pitch that is perfectly well suited for the person who's taking the pitch. Okay, and so then I thought to myself, yeah, okay, so in certain days, I may not be prepared to take that pitch, even though on a certain other day I am prepared to take that pitch. Okay, the same pitch that I am able to take, certain days I may not be able to take it because I'm not prepared. Okay, because my mind is prepared. My mind is detracted from properly taking that pitch. Okay, so so I thought to myself. So today, what I did was I borrowed money from a friend of mine, a trading buddy. Okay, so he went online. He's on the East Coast. So he bought this funding pips challenge. Okay, it's a 10K challenge. Uh, I, as a prep cook, wasn't able to put in enough hours the last 2 weeks in order to afford me another account, and so I'm like, I'm my gas tank is like near empty, and so I'm gonna have some difficulty paying for everything, paying all the bills this period. So so this is where a good friend is helpful. Uh, Now I haven't asked him in the past 5 years, but now he's profitable. He's profitable, okay? When he's good, when he gets running, he can make about upwards more than 10K a week, right? So now I've essentially thrown all the accounts away. Okay, I've lost all the accounts uh, because recently what I noticed is that after I spoke, I realized, yeah, I was doing that. I was like undermining my own efforts. Okay, I was forcing something. I was like, why am I forcing something when I don't even need to force it? When my profit is there, like the previous account, I was up 3.6%, and then the next day I lost 4%. And so when I get to the point where I'm at almost 4%, I don't need to take risky trades. I don't need to do that. All I have to do, all I have to do is wait for that right pitch. That's what he says, right? Warren Buffett says, wait for the right pitch. That's what he's when because if there's an institutional investment institution, right? If there's an institution that is investing for people, they have to always be in investment of some sort. Okay, so they have to take pitches that really, they have to buy things at certain points when the market is like declining. Okay, okay, they have to do that, right? But for me, as an individual investor in charge of my own account, I don't have to buy something that I don't want to buy when the market is not favorable to me. So I realized today that as I was sitting here, I'm looking at it. I'm not seeing any pitches that I like. Okay, I'm not. I'm not seeing any pitches. So so um so so there's a dialogue between a pitcher and a catcher. Okay, the pitcher and a catcher, they have they are in coordination in order to throw in something with a meeting on the mind to make sure that this person who's at the bat uh, strikes out. Okay, that's the main point. So what the batter has to do is wait for the right pitch. Okay, they're going to be coordinating to throw in a pitch that the batter is going to miss, right? But they have to throw it inside the strike zone in order to progress towards striking out this batter. And so the batter has an opportunity to wait for the right pitch. It could be a ball just right outside, which is unfavorable for the pitcher, to the hitter. And so the right thing to do is I have to wait for the right scenario to come into uh, so I've talked about this in the past, but I've never practiced it because I had an idea. Okay, I had an idea, but it never registered into my mind that I need to put it into practice each and every day. Okay, to to make sure to make sure that when I take that pitch, I have a high probability that I'm going to have a success. But if I'm taking something that is not, then it's going to be a problem, right? So recently, for 5 years, I never reflected upon what was causing me to lose. It never registered me. It never registered into my mind that I need to be looking at the trades that I took and see which ones are effective and which ones are not effective. And the ones that are effective, then I need to adjust that as well to make it even more effective. And then I need to take the ones that are undermining my account. Then I need to make sure, first of all, not to trade it, and then figure out, is it possible for me to change it a little bit, the way that I present myself to the market, so that I can make it better, right? So that what used to be a drain on my account, then can I change it so that it can turn into a good trade. Like the three trades that I talked about, which is, it's hard. The one example is, okay, so one example is it goes down and then I go along. Why would I want to go along when it's trending down, right? There is an uncertainty. There is a slight certainty that it's going to continue, okay? It's going to continue going down. When something's going down, likely it's going to continue going down unless there is a certain point uh, lower, which is going to obstruct that movement, which is called a support, which is going to cause it to reverse, right? But unless something like that, some structure is there, I have to see it first. That means that I shouldn't be going long, okay? But that can also be turned around to say, hey, why are you going long when it's going down? I could be shorting it if I knew how to short, right? So when I look at these things, then I'm looking for that perfect pitch, certain situations to occur, which means that within that certain situation, the probability of my success is higher. That's why it's called like an A plus setup, right? A plus setup means that certain things are aligned with certain the fundamentals, along with supporting ideas, okay, confluences, that says, okay, when I do this, it's gonna allow me to have a higher probability that it's gonna be moving up, right? And so as I sit here, I made one trade with a small size because I don't want to blow this challenge, because I asked a friend of mine to buy this. This is not cheap. It's like $60, right? Okay, $60 for me, it's expensive, but for somebody who's making $10,000 a week on just pure profit, uh, although $60, whatever it is, I mean, it's not free. It's not free. It's $60, right? So I do appreciate it. I appreciate it. When I get profitable, I need to pay that back, right? I need to pay it back. So I'm being extra careful here. Okay, I was on tilt. I was on tilt this week. Okay, I was on tilt. I mean, it just mentally. So what the tilt does is it widens the strike zone. Okay, the perception of the world is distorted, and so the strike zone becomes wide. Okay, a pitch that's thrown 10 miles away looks like it's in a strike zone. I have to take it. That's what tilt does. So I've been thinking about this tilt too. It's like I've been thinking about this while I was like grinding meat at the restaurant as part of the prep work, and I thought to myself, I thought to myself, this tilt comes from being surprised. Okay, so there's this YouTube talk channel, Etienne Crete, and he had this psychiatrist on as an interview, who's a trader as well. And the trader says, okay, so he was in this hostage negotiation, and in a military base, and this general says, "Look, we got everything all considered. All you have to do is talk to this guy, uh, and then and then resolve the situation. But I just want you to know that all possibilities have been considered. So when all things are considered, there's no surprises, because surprises in a negative way will cause a tilt. That's what it is. Psychologically speaking, that's what happens, right? I look at something, it's a surprise, it's negative, and my mind just shuts, it just turns into mush, and it can't process what's going on. That's why tilt is based on something that happens because it's an it's something that happens because it was not anticipated. That's why it happened. Okay, that's what tilt occurs. So so that means it all falls into this perfect pitch. When I am entered into a tilt, this perfect box where the strike zone is increases, even though my physical and mental capability is yay big. But but the brain thinks it like it's very, very wide, and it does that. And it causes a self-destructive, financially self-destructive and mentally draining. And then after, the residual effect is like I mean, it causes a mental fatigue and stress on the mind when that happens. And so this guy Warren Buffett, he's a world-renowned investor, and he says that an investor like myself, not an institution, can wait for that perfect pitch. Okay, a perfect pitch that says, okay, I'm waiting for these certain things to occur, which for me, I have three of them, right? I have three of them. So I'm just waiting for that. And then when there's another three of them that I'm trying to to remove it from my trading vocabulary. One of them is, when it's going down, I don't want to be long. No, don't do that. Especially when I have size, a little bit of move will cause me to, yeah, I don't want to do that. And when there's a parabolic move, I don't want to be drawn in like a fly to a light. I don't want to do that. When there's a green candle on a quiet period, it's not a breakout. It's just there. It's a pullback, and it's about to pull back, and then right after it paints that, if I enter, it's going to be at the top, and so it's going to drop. So I don't want to take that. I don't want to take that pitch. No, I don't want it. I don't want to take that pitch because I've lost. For the past 5 years, I've consistently lost. And then what happens when it goes down? And then I have to be careful because this happens all the time, right? This happens all the time. It goes down, pulls back, and then drops back down to where that support is, and then it just drops off that support. It happens all the time. So I get misled. It's a pullback. It's a pullback. It's not a reversal. It's a pullback, and then drops. Okay, that's what happens. So this is very similar to like a break and retest kind of thing, when it's like when it's there's the flip side of it, going up, going down, right? So he talks about this something called a perfect pitch, and I'm waiting for that, but waiting for that, so there's this, so what happens is, okay, so and he talks about this analogy of two birds in hand, two birds in the bush versus one bird in hand. Okay, the concept of that is, I thought, I thought it was nothing, right? I thought there wasn't much to think about that. Okay, so if I have a bird in hand, I take it, right? All right, I take it. So if I have a bird in hand, that means this is cash. Okay, so Warren Buffett talks about this. There's a principle of a bird in hand and two birds in the bush. Okay, two birds in the bush and one bird in the hand. So cash is a bird in the hand, but two birds in the bush is a future investment. Okay, I'm taking that bird in hand and I'm going to turn it into two birds in the bush. Okay, but that two birds in the bush is beyond my current reach at this moment. But in time, it's going to evolve into two birds in hand. Okay, the two birds in the bush is going to turn into two birds in the hand in the future. That's what investment is. How that is made, so it's the same principle as It's the same principle as these psychiatrists perform these little tests with kids that says, okay, so if you do not eat this candy, in 5 minutes, I'm going to give you another candy. But if you eat this candy, you're not going to get the other candy, right? So some people wait for it, some people don't, right? Some people wait for it, some people don't. That's how investments work, okay? That's how investments work, right? So I realized that, okay, so when I wait for the perfect pitch, I need to cultivate that. And so that when I have a perfect pitch, I can size big. I can size big because I know that when I take that trade, my efficacy is very high. Okay? Whereas taking a trade with it's I suppose it's like when I'm on tilt, it's like doing anything while drunk. Okay? It's like driving a car drunk under the influence, right? And so when I'm in that state of mind, even though what it looks like, what's happening, I'm not seeing the market clearly. And so I can't be trading that. Okay? Tilt does that. Okay? Tilt does that. Okay? Tilt is a possible combination of my inability to trade properly because I was not prepared to see what's going on. And then I take that a trade and I lose. If I win, then it's under false pretenses. The brain is being programmed with false premise in order to continue on this trading, even though clearly the logic that was used to enter into trade was wrong. So I realized after suffering this tilt for the past 4 days, and then now having to ask a friend to help me purchase a challenge with funding pips, a 10K funded a challenge that I need to wait for the right pitch. And then this guy, now he's old and he's retired, and he said this. It's like that's why he apparently he has a signed, like an autographed little picture of this, something about the strike zone, and then descriptions about what the strike zone is, right? And he's got it in his office. All I have to do, think about this. I could work on this. So it's like this. Is it better to make one good trade that makes me $5 in 5 years, or make 1,000,000 trades in the past 5 years and I lost $50,000-$60,000? Okay, which one is better? Right? Which one is better? Okay? Hindsight is 2020. Obviously, the better one is making that one trade that I have one trade that is right, that I have cultivated and and fine-tuned and made it right, is the right one. Because if I'm making tens of thousands, 1 millions of wrong trades, losing $50,000, that's the lesser of the better of this one trade, right? So even if I made one good trade in the past 5 years, it's better than losing 1,000,000 times, right? So waiting for the right pitch, and it just came to me today. It just see okay. I want to tell you something. I'm going to tell you something, okay? And I'm speaking from experience, okay? I'm speaking from experience. I'm speaking from experience, okay? I'm speaking from experience, and what I have experienced is really, really interesting. Okay, it's very, very interesting, for the fact that now I'm beginning to see how the mind can distort things. The mind can distort things. Okay. The mind can distort things, and I'm disclosing this because I came to the realization. Okay. I came to the realization that even though everything looks like it is, even though everything looks like it, that I understand it, but I really don't understand it. And then at a certain point, I finally, somehow something clicks. Okay, something clicks that tells me that I do finally understand it. Okay? See, people said, oh, you want to only take high quality trades. But it never registered in my mind. What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? Only take high quality trades. Only take high quality trades. I'm just being very, very. I'm talking. See, okay, this is really valuable. This is a very, very, very valuable lesson. I think that's why 99% of people fail, because their mind is twisting the situation to see a trade that is not the right trade, okay? Or the trading plan is not thought out properly for that trade, and that's why a loss occurs, okay? Whether it triggers a tilt or some other forms of capital depreciation, okay? Because they don't fully understand the concept of knowing and not knowing about what the current situation is. That's why it's causing that particular mental out of the strike zone type of situation to occur. Okay, this is very, very. The idea is so subtle, but is so important. It's like splitting hair, but splitting hair clearly allows a person to understand the concept of knowing and not knowing. Okay? See, here's the splitting hair part. There is a saying that you only want to take high quality trades. But what happens is most people don't even know what a high quality trade is, and they take all the trades. That's why they take all the pitches and they get struck out. That's why they're not in the major leagues. But people who are in the major leagues for years and years and years, they know how to, even though it's in the strike zone, they know which pitch to take. Okay? That's why they're effective, and that's why they're able to keep their job. Okay? So there's a splitting hair is that people know what taking high quality trades is, which means that when they take their trades, they're more effective. That's why they're profitable. That's the difference between 99% of people and people who are profitable and not profitable. To people who are profitable, they know the distinction. They know how to split hairs because they're waiting for that right pitch. Okay? They're not taking pitches that causes them, even these people who are profitable, sometimes their mind is not ready. Their mind gets distorted. And so they have to take a break because they get into this certain mental fog. Because mostly they're correct. They know how to trade. But sometimes they'll fall victim to this mental fatigue. And then they're unable to see the strike zone properly, and they lose. And so they know that they need to take a break. Okay? Sometimes they'll get distorted. These psychiatrists talk about if you win, what will happen is that you'll get into this, your mind twists the reality, and certain pitches seem to be more attractive. It's like everything seems to work out properly, and so they'll take that pitch, and that will cause a heavy loss, right? So splitting hair is knowing the difference between what is a high quality setup and what is not a high quality setup. Okay? People say that, but somebody like myself didn't even understand what that meant. What is an A+ setup? Okay? I was trying to figure this out. Like 4-5 years into trading, people talk about high quality setup, A+ setup, and I didn't even know about it. I don't even know. Okay? If I look at it and I go, okay, well, what is an A+ setup? Okay, so when I take that trade, then chances, see, it's so obvious, but until I talked about it, I didn't even realize it. High quality setup is when I take that trade, the chances of that trade becoming profitable is very high. That's what it means. But I didn't even know the distinction between A+ setup and not an A+ setup. I didn't know. I didn't know how to grade it, right? Now I can grade it. So when something's going down and I'm going long, that's like a F trade. Okay? That's what it is. Okay? It has to have like some sort of a macroeconomic news that are first freshly injected into that current situation to change it on the fly, right? That's a very remote possibility. So that's like an F type of a trade. And I was taking that kind of a trade, okay? And I would lose, obviously, but because my mind wasn't able to properly process that information, my mind was not able to look at it and go, oh, look, it's going down. I shouldn't be going long. My mind wasn't thinking that. I just said, hey, look, it's going to eventually reverse. So I'll just enter now with size. What? So the mind will twist things around looking at it because it's in a fatigued state, in a tilted kind of a state where it's like, hey, I'm gonna make it. That's why there's something called forcing it. Okay? You can force it or react to it. Okay? There's a big debate about reacting and predicting, right? But in reality, these two words describe perfectly what's happening. Reacting means I look at the market, see what it is, and I react to it. But when I place the trade, I'm predicting. Okay? I'm predicting that my reaction is correct. So in reality, predicting is the right thing to do when is the true meaning, the right definition of what trading is. Reacting is absorbing what the market is doing, and then when I'm predicting, I'm placing the trade. Okay? I'm reacting to define my thesis, but I take the trade in anticipation. In anticipation, which is predicting. Okay? Anyway, so I thought to myself, okay, so I need to. Wow, look at that. Gold is down 7%. Wow. Anyway, so yeah. Whoa. Yeah, that whoa. Anyway, so I finally realized, okay, it didn't hit me when my mother gave me $10,000, the money that she saved by pinching pennies, right? Literally going to the store, returning an item if it was like mispriced, okay, to save $1, okay, and getting minimum wage and saving that money. And she gave me $10,000 to trade. Okay, many years ago. I lost that. I just gave it to somebody else, right? But it didn't hit me then. Okay? Then I took every penny that I made for the past 5 years and I dumped it into the market, but it still didn't hit me. This week, this hard-earned money that I was getting from this restaurant, okay? I pray the restaurant hangs around because it might take another 5 to 10. I may never figure it out, but I figured this part of it out, okay? I figured this one part of it out. I now know the difference between an A-plus setup and a non-A-plus setup. I know the difference between a trade when I take it, I know I'm going to lose. And I know the difference when I take this trade, when I take certain trades that I'm going to be more effective. Now I know it. But even as early as like Monday of this week, I couldn't tell the difference. I couldn't tell the difference between an A-plus setup and a non-A-plus setup, okay? Because when I'm in a state of tilt, something like that they merge together, and this strike zone becomes very, very wide, okay? It's not like baseball when somebody is in a zone where they throw the ball, it goes in wherever the ball is thrown in. It's not like that. The strike zone expands, which causes me to take all this kind of trade, which doesn't even make any sense. That's why I've been losing, right? So I now finally understood the difference between a perfect pitch and a non-perfect pitch, okay? I don't want to be trying to hit the ball that's like thrown right behind me. I don't want to do that because it's not an ideal situation. See, baseball is like, now I see what football and baseball are. It's like it's the American sport. It's like it's like apple pie. It's America, right? It finally dawned on me. That's what's going on. I finally understood what Warren Buffett was talking about. And he was this interview with he was in an interview with whatever her name is, and he was walking her through his office, and he says, hey, you don't have to take all the pitches. You only need to take the perfect pitch. And he talked about this, like, he says this, like, if I can have just one good pitch 1 year, then I'm going to have a very, very successful business. That's what he said. Okay? Because when he has that perfect pitch and one of them, like Coca-Cola or some other thing, all he has to do is put $10 billion into it, and then it'll be an investment that keeps coming in and in and in and in for years and years and years, right? So it's not the quantity, it's the quality. Quality, so again, it all goes on into that perfect pitch. Even though it's in a perfect pitch, I have a higher chance of hitting the ball when it's in that pitch area, right? And when the ball is at the right speed, at the right angle, at the right positioning, and when I am prepared to make that, when I'm able to, as a hitter, hit it within that zone, I am able to hit it. Okay? That's the reality. That's the reality that I was unable to understand. It all goes back to I mean, it's like, it's solving everything. It's like, there's a Peanuts cartoon strip where these kids are in school and the teacher is going wonk 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 because they don't understand it. Okay, they don't understand what the teacher is saying. But the children somehow says something and it says, "Oh, is that what you want?" kind of thing in children's language. The adult language and the children's language is different. So taking that perfect pitch is being an adult. Okay. But if I'm so in maturation, the psychological maturation of, so everything, I mean, everything, life, essentially it boils down to this concept of progressing, maturing into somebody who knows how to trade. Okay? Knowing how to trade and having experienced what trading has taught me about all these concepts now, which I didn't understand just a few days ago, yesterday. But it just finally dawned on me, right? After grinding the meat at the restaurant, thank God that people are going over there buying things, right? I bought myself a double cheeseburger. I buy that all the time, right? But I get a discount as an employee, which I am so thankful, okay? The original owner who bought it from somebody else he's a corporate chef. Okay, and he created his recipes. Okay, it's great. Okay, but they forgot to put onions in it yesterday. Okay, I love onions. It's good for me, right? It's healthy, right? It's not good for talking. Okay, so even talking, it has to be a perfect pitch. When I'm conversing with somebody else, I don't want to have like garlic all over the person's the breathing area because it's going to be distorting that situation, right? So it's a perfect pitch, okay? When I go to a dealership and I want an oil change, I don't want somebody like throwing air out of their nose and saying whatever I said was incorrect. I don't want somebody saying that. I want a perfect pitch, okay? I want a perfect pitch. When I go to a buffet, I want to make sure that I'm not going there after having a heavy meal like 4 hours before, because when I get there, I want to enjoy the food, lots of food. In order for me to enjoy lots of food, I want to make sure my stomach is empty for a couple days, right? That's a perfect pitch. Perfect pitch. So I know I'm disclosing everything. So if I have to be, I'm being as God as my witness. I'm being as honest as possible. This is probably the most important video. You're going to be lucky. There's one or two people who are subscribers to this, but I'm telling you right now. If you're not profitable, I'm just being very, very honest. This is speaking from my personal opinion. Okay. Now, trading has risks, and it's not for everybody. And this information, there's a legality of trading too, and I have to be very honest about it. Don't sue me. This is just like I'm just saying this. Okay. It's not an advice for you to take all the money or sell your house and put it in the market. It's not. Absolutely not. I'll state it in court, okay? Look, this is not an advice. Okay, this is an advice, but it's not an advice. But I'm just disclosing what seems to be an incredibly valuable thing here. It's a very, very valuable thing. Knowing the difference between a perfect pitch and a non-perfect pitch is turning the corner in trading. Okay? This is probably a very, very valuable video. This is probably like Yul Brynner going on TV saying, don't smoke. Don't smoke. Because he died of lung cancer with complications of cigarettes. And Yul Brynner is going on TV. He says, look, don't smoke. Okay? Don't smoke. It's like Nancy Reagan going on TV saying, this is so she has this like a frying pan with egg on it, right? This is your brain on drugs. Don't do it. Okay, don't do it. All right? This is Trump. This is Trump saying to Venezuela, don't do it. Okay? Don't do it. Don't take that boat loaded with drugs and come to America. Don't do it. Okay? It's like Secretary Hegseth saying, look, don't do it. Okay? Don't load up your boat and then into a boat that has 4 high-speed motors in it. Don't do it. Okay? Don't do it. All right? So this is probably this is very, very valuable. This is incredibly valuable. If there's any lesson that could be learned from trading is this. This is so, after 5 years, I find it so important. There are mechanics like using stop losses and things like that, but this is clearly splitting hair. This is clearly splitting hair between being profitable and not profitable. Okay, this is turning the corner. Okay, if anybody out there who's somebody might laugh. Okay, everybody laughs around me, right? Everybody laughs. People who screw me, these lawyers, these siblings, everybody laughs because to them I'm a stupid person. They laugh. People look at this and say, hey, this guy's stupid. All right? And they'll probably laugh. They don't see value in this video. But this, on a personal note, after 5 years of intensive thousands of tens of thousands of dollars lost, and then tens of thousands of trades later, I've come to the conclusion, splitting hairs, making this connection between what this one of the richest men in the world has said about taking the perfect pitch. Okay, that is the distinction between being profitable and not profitable. Okay, that is probably, this video it's free. But if you think it's free, you're not gonna think that it's valuable. But this, I'll tell you, this is very, very profitable. The distinction, the connection, this is very subtle. The distinction between profitable and non-profitable is only taking the A+ setups. That's the distinction. Okay? Taking only the trades that are in the pitch area. It's smaller. It's very, very small when I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. But it gets into a perfect area when I know what I'm doing. And when I take those pitches, that will be a clear difference between making money and not making money. I hope I made that point clear. It's so subtle. It's splitting hair. But the perfect pitch is the distinction. Okay, taking that perfect pitch is the distinction between being profitable and not profitable.